Okay. So chapter 10, facilities planning and design. It's not changing slides.
It's not.
Wait. I just slide one, slide two. All right. So the preliminary preparation should include study of the current trends in food service design and equipment and design, regulatory codes and operating licenses required, and specific needs for various types of food services. Trends affecting food service design include changes in patterns of dining out, changes in desired menu items, concerns for employees, concerns for the environments, economic factors, built-in safety, sanitation, and noise reduction. So, for example, changes in patterns of dining out, more people are eating meals away from home. So just like depending on the economy, the type of food services patronized will be affected. So that's just one example of trends affecting the food service design. Okay, going. So information on developments in design and equipment. So when you're trying to design a food services facility, you should visit new or innovative facilities of the same type you're planning and talk with managers of those facilities, which may garner new ideas for your facility design. You should obtain catalogs and specification sheets from various equipment companies for comparative purposes and determining equipment space needs. That's pretty essential. Equipment company representatives and design consultants can be really good resources for information on developments in design and equipment. And then trade journals should be reviewed for articles on planning and design. Okay, some regulatory considerations. You would want to be concerned about zoning restrictions, building standards, which includes accommodations for persons with disabilities, electrical wiring and outlets, gas outlets and installations, health, fire and safety codes, sanitation standards that govern water pollution and water disposal systems, and installation of heavy-duty equipment. Building permits are required, but in most instances will not be issued for food service projects unless health department officials have reviewed and approved the plans. So, yeah, that's what you have to do for that. Okay. And then some special considerations for specific types of food services. Some of those types include commercial facilities, schools and universities, in-plant facilities, health and healthcare centers and hospitals, and correctional facilities. So some of those special considerations for each one of those: commercial facilities, restaurants catering to downtown shoppers and business people prefer a location near busy intersections. Their customers will have a limited lunch period, will want to be within 10 minutes of the restaurant, like a 10-minute walk. So just like your location matters in terms of who your customer is and where you're located. Yeah, and coordinating like good transportation system, things like that. For schools and universities, school food services are preferably located on the first floor, convenient to the central hallway. So that could be in like a dorm or just in like a dining hall. Dining areas in some schools may have to double as study halls or gymnasiums, which would be like a different planning situation. Yeah, and city schools often utilize a central production kitchen or food production for all schools in the system. So there's that one kitchen for all the schools. And then, yeah, colleges and universities have to consider the entire campus community, like residence halls, people who live off campus, people who are just walking through campus, things like that. In-plant facilities or industrial food service areas should be in a central location, allowing for ready access from as many places in the plant as possible. Hospitals and healthcare centers must provide for the needs of the staff, employees, visitors, and guests, as well as the patients. So multiple different types of foods and access to food. So sometimes you have to bring the food to the patients, and sometimes you just have a cafeteria. For correctional facilities, it's kind of a different challenge from the other types of food services because inmates often serve as food service workers. Basic design consideration is to provide personal safety, security, and protection against sabotage. So there's a lot more like security involved with correctional facilities planning. And that is all I have to say.
Okay. So next we have the steps in the planning procedure. So the steps you need to take when designing a facility. So first you're going to prepare a prospectus, which I'll go into in a second what that is. Then you're going to organize a planning team, conduct a feasibility study, make a menu analysis, consider the desired architectural features, and then finally you're going to want to consider the relationship between the cost of the project and the available money that you have. So first you're going to prepare the prospectus. So what is a prospectus? The prospectus is a written plan for your project, whether that's the building or the design, which includes really detailed descriptions of all aspects under consideration for your project. So the prospectus is used as a guide to understanding the project for all those involved. So everyone can have a guide to be like, okay, this is what the project is, this is what we're doing. There's three parts to the prospectus. You have the rationale, physical and operational characteristics, and then regulatory information. So the first part, the rationale, this part includes your title, the reason for your project, the project's objectives, policies, procedures, and things like that. And so your title includes the description of the plan. It should reflect your proposed design in the title of the project. Your goal is your single outcome of your project. Your objective is the statements that are saying what is required to achieve your project's goal. Then you have your policy, which is the course of action selected to guide and determine your present and future decisions on your project. And then the procedure is a specific way of accomplishing something for your project. So the second part of the prospectus is your physical and operational characteristics. So physical characteristics include things like architecture and design features, because certain building styles are required for certain types of foods. So the book gives an example of like Mexican restaurants often have Spanish architecture. So that would be an architectural physical characteristic. And then design characteristics would include things like the color of the inside and outside of your facility. Operational characteristics refer to the activities that take place in the food service. So, what type of food is on your menu? What form is the food purchased? It matters whether it's fresh, canned, or frozen, because that will determine what kind of storage you need and how much storage you need. And then your type of food service system also matters when planning your facility. The third part of the prospectus is the regulatory, the regulatory information. So this section identifies the standards of safety, sanitation, noise control, and waste disposal that the design must meet. It also includes standards for things like with employees and patrons with disabilities. So after you design, you have your prospectus, then you're going to organize a planning team. So your planning team, this is pretty straightforward, but all members of your team should understand your project. That's why you have your prospectus in the first place. And then every member of your team will contribute their area of expertise to the success of your project. Communication is obviously super important because you want everyone to be on the same level as far as the project is concerned. The planning team chooses everything from a floor plan, they select materials, and they write really detailed specifications of the project. And then the plans obviously must be checked over and over again before it's finally handed off to builders for the final preparations. Every detail should be included so that nothing is left to chance or misinterpretation. So after you have your group, then you're going to conduct a feasibility study. Your feasibility study is a collection of data about the market and other things, factors related to the operation of your facility. So it justifies the project to make sure it's worth pursuing. Like you say, oh, well, these facilities are like this, so I have means to do this. This includes things like payroll, production, inventory records. You can look up regulations on the city, state, national level, which you obtain from agencies, or you can get library copies of these documents. You want to research statistics regarding trends, costs, customer information, from many different types of things like journals and independent studies. So then after you get all of your analysis of things like that, then you're going to make a menu analysis. So the menu drives the layout. This is pretty straightforward, but the menu is key to what kind of equipment you're going to need, what kind of space you're going to need for your food service. Yeah, as I said, it affects your design, it affects your layout, as well as your skills and staffing levels required. And then you're going to want to consider the agritextural features. Architectural. So decisions on architecture are important for determining how easy your facility is to clean and what the sanitation levels are like, the safety, the amount of lighting you need, the temperature controls, and things like noise reduction. Types of floors, walls, ceilings, lighting, ventilation is also important. And then built-in refrigeration into your facility would also need to be considered before completing your project. Plumbing too. So then you're also finally, after you do all that, you're going to consider the relationship between the cost of your project and the available money that you have. So everything needs to be taken into account for the project, including factors such as operating costs, life expectancy. You want to consider sanitary standards and provision of comfort for the employees and customers. So when planning a project for a facility, you need to have a predetermined budget. This can include things like I've mentioned above, like labor costs, your cost of material and equipment, building costs, etc. All the things that go into planning a budget.
For design development, after completing preliminary preparations and feasible study, for food service manager or design consultant needs to develop a design and a layout plan, providing adequate facilities for all anticipated activities, incorporating the ideas that planning members generate and considering the facility's future growth are important aspects of design development. So there's a logical sequence for developing a design for a facility, and Number one, you want to determine the space allowance by drawing a flow diagram showing the space relationships of the work units and routes for supplies and workers. The second step, you prepare a systematic design to scale showing space allowances and relationships and placement of equipment for consideration by the planning team before the architect begins preparing blueprints and revisions as needed. For number three, prepare and submit the architect's complete set of blueprints and contract documents, including specifications to reliable, interested contractors, builders, engineers, and equipment representations, and competitive bids. For step 4, you'll want to formulate contracts with accepted bidders. And number 5, inspect construction, wiring, plumbing, finishing, and the equipment and its installations as specified in blueprints and contracts. This is the responsibility of the architect and contractor. Space allowances and relationships. They determine the amount of floor space and how to divide it for food service activities, which varies with each operation. Each activity needs adequate space to prepare and serve the planned number of meals, yet allowing too much space can result in inefficiency and lost time and effort. The prospectus and menu analysis specify the number and kind of activities to be performed. The required equipment is listed for each activity, such as vegetable preparation and cooking specific menu items. One commonly used procedure to determine kitchen space requirements begins with the calculation of the amount of space needed for a dining room. Designing the floor plans begins with a diagram showing the flow of work, food, and supplies for one procedure to the next in a logical sequence. A simply aligned concept provides continuous workflow for tasks. The relationship of one work unit to another is also a consideration, that is, deciding on which work units need to be close to each other, which should be adjacent to other areas of the building, and which must be located near an outside door. There is a diagram that shows desirable work area relationships and progression of work from receiving goods to serving without backtracking with little cross traffic. So the middle is the main cooking area, and around it is receiving area, trash removal, and then on the sides is dry storage, bakery preparation, pot and pan wash, and dishwashing. There's a serving unit on the end, and they all go in a complete diagram, and refrigerated and freezer storage, pre-preparation, and vegetable, such as vegetables and salad preparations, are on the side. Flow diagrams are used to show space relationships. The relationship of main cooking unit to other work areas and conventional food service system. The ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act. This mandate sets some general guidelines for implementing reasonable accommodations in the workplace and dining areas for persons with disabilities. Tools and equipment are required for adequate storage space that is located in the place of use. This includes space for racks to store clean pots and pans. Hand washing facilities and drinking water should be in a convenient location for all personnel. Rectangular or square kitchens are considered to be the most convenient. The length of the rectangular kitchen should be no more than twice its width for best efficiency. Employees will save steps in the dining room if the dining room entrance is on the longer side of the rectangular kitchen. This allows for adequate space and movement throughout the dining area. Large kitchens usually have specialized work areas, each with its own equipment and short-term storage facilities. For efficiency in work and to reduce the noise level in the kitchen, these work areas may be divided with semi-portions, walls 5 to 5.5 feet high. Thus, there is a separation of work but air circulation in the kitchen, which is not blocked by ceiling high partitions. So the ADA requires space to accommodate wheelchairs and food service facilities. They have to make sure that they have enough side reach, forward reach, high forward reach limit, maximum forward reach over an obstruction. This allows enough space to accommodate for people with wheelchairs. In smaller kitchens, the work areas may merge and the equipment can be shared by employees. This requires careful planning of work schedules so both workers will not need the equipment at the same time. The 7 major work areas in food service departments are receiving, storage, and issuing pre-preparation. That's it.
Okay. The last portion is work areas, and the 7 areas of work areas are receiving, storage and issuing, pre-preparation, preparation, serving, warewashing, and support services. Okay, so the receiving area is the area which you receive all of your deliveries from. It includes an outside platform or loading dock, which is preferably covered, and an adjacent floor space large enough to check in, examine, weigh, and count food. You can see over here on the picture that the dock has a really wide deck and a covered roof. It also needs space allotted for hand trucks, platform scales, and a desk or workspace for the receiving clerk. The exterior door of the receiving area must be wide enough to fit hand trucks, large cartons, or pieces of equipment to be installed in a kitchen. And you can see on the picture it says wide stainless steel door, so that's what that's for. The storing and issuing food area consists of dry stores, walk-in refrigerators and freezers, and cleaning supplies. The dry stores are where the canned goods, staples, and grocery items are stored. They require a moisture-proof floor, good ventilation, cool temperatures, screened windows, tightly covered storage bins, and metal slatted shelves. The walk-in refrigerators and freezers must be provided for perishable foods, and they should also be as close as possible to the receiving platform and accessible to the work unit that will use it most frequently. The cleaning supplies must be stored separate and apart from all foods, and additional space must be allocated for extra stocks of paper goods, linens, towels, uniforms, and aprons. Okay, so the pre-preparation area has a central ingredient room and a vegetable preparation area, and it's basically the area where you pre-prepare food that's going to get put in bigger dishes later. So the central ingredient room must be placed adjacent yet connected to the storage areas, and it also requires adequate table or counter space. The vegetable preparation area should be located near refrigerated storage and cooking and salad areas, and it's equipped with a chopper, cutter, 2-compartment sink, work tables, cart, knives, and cutting boards. And you can see on the picture, there's a work table, the 2-compartment sink, the food chopper, and then there's some other things in this picture like an oven and a skillet and whatnot. And those are just extras. So the preparation area is the main area of the kitchen. It's also known as the kitchen hub, and it's most efficient when placed adjacent to the vegetable prep area, storage rooms, and behind or near the serving area. And the preparation area for meat, fish, and poultry needs to include butcher blocks, an electric saw and grinder, sinks,
storage trays, and refrigerators. And it also needs to include water outlets, mobile refrigerated units, salad area, and dessert prep areas. The serving area is where the wait staff picks up the dishes that the kitchen has prepared to take out to their tables, which is also called the assembly and serving area. These depend on the amount of available space that you have in your kitchen, so they're not always located at the same place, but they're typically located where servers pick up their orders for their tables. The ware washing station is where all of your dishes, silverware, glassware, trays, pots, and pans get washed. And they should be compact, well lit, and well ventilated. And it should be located away from the dining room because of the noise. The equipment needed in the ware washing station is a 3-compartment sink, racks for clean pots and pans, and I can't see this, steam cabinet. So you can see in the picture the 3-compartment sink over here on the right, and the racks straight above it for the clean dishes, and then the steam cabinet in the middle of the picture. And the supporting services are sort of like extra things that a restaurant needs to be functional. Those include office space for food service management staff, janitor's closets for storage, trash and waste disposal system, waiter and waitress stations, and host and hostess stations. And you can see pictures of them over here on the right. And the question is not on here.
Well, it's not.
What's the question?
Yeah, nice.
Okay, well, our question is, in your opinion, what? So, our discussion question for y'all is, in your opinion, we went through a lot of different things that are important in planning and designing a facility, and I want to know, in your opinion, what do you believe is one of the most important aspects in designing a food service facility? Okay, well, that's all we have for y'all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.
Yes.